assistant professor and associate professor. And the number of registered participants is more than 375. Participants from more than 200 institutions have joined this program, sir. And dear academicians, we are very fortunate and privileged that Engineer Aniruddha Shah Pure sir has accepted our request to address the session, to take the session as technical expert. And as I have shared his brief CV in the group, I feel that he is not only professional expert, a very good professional, very good, excellent engineer, but he has very diversified personality also. I am going to give the brief introduction, and you will feel that the diversity of his profile and personality. Engineer Anirudh Shah Pure is an electrical and electronics engineer and MBA, and is senior member of IEEE, Chartered Engineer IEI, and Certified Industry 4.0 professional. For more than 2 decades, he has been affiliated to multinationals like Schneider Electrical, Mitsubishi, Omron, Capgemini, and lot of other organizations. And an excellent administrator, technologist, and implementer. He has governed and executed multi-million dollar projects in the industrial automation and IT sectors across Europe, Asia, and African continents. He was section chairman of IEEE Region 8, organizing chair and advisor at various IEEE in the international conferences. He volunteered for Save Earth initiatives and participated wildlife preservation with African wildlife for more than a decade. He is active member of IEEE Standard Association and involved in various working group committees defining in standards. Currently, he is Chief Knowledge Officer at Pune Small City Development Corporation Limited, Pune. So, sir, with this brief introduction, uh, uh, very difficult to give your introduction, sir. I am handing over session to you, sir. Sir, please, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Vishal sir is always modest and he always praise whatever the small achievements the others have done, and because he is a great person himself. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity, and thank you very much all the participants uh, who have joined. So we will start. I will, this will be a very interactive session which I wanted to take about. You are all academicians, and the future lies in your hand, basically, because you are going to create the future workforce. And these are the sessions which you are having are the ones. Just it's nothing to tell you about how to do it. However, we are just sharing whatever the experiences which we had to implement, to starting from making this projects work for the industry, for the citizens, and for the obviously for the administration. So this is what actually the aim of this, that the better future workforce comes out, the better will be the future, definitely. And then who are the one who are going to do that? It's you people. You are going to teach them being an employable person, being uh, useful for the industry, useful as a citizen to the community. So thank you very much for joining today. I'm just sharing my presentation with you. And this is every time it happens to whatever the you know any kind of a number of uh, meetings or online presentations which we have done, we always search for that particular window to share. Please bear with me. Can you see my share screen? Hello, can you see my screen?
No, sir.
Not. Yes, sir. Now it is coming, sir. Now it is coming.
Okay, okay. So before starting, today's session is on data-driven cities and urban governance. So what kind of data and what is the importance of data? That is what we are going to discuss, and you will find it very relevant to this to the other sessions also, and the one which you are going to have for the future, how we are going to have these interactions and preparation for the workforce, how it is very much useful from the academics point of view, that the research and then the cooperation of academicians like you is more important. So Pune, welcome. I'm very happy to represent Pune Smart City Development Corporation on this to the viewers. Pune is now 7th largest city in India, 516.25 square kilometers. 8th most populous in India, about 4.5 million citizens, and 4.6 million vehicles. So every Pune has 1.1 vehicle. 3.3 million, that is 33 lakhs two-wheelers. So you can imagine a city of 516 square kilometers. Obviously, this will increase now because we have just increased about 100 square kilometers. So the registered vehicles will definitely increase in another 2.5 million. This is the Pune Smart City area. Pune Smart City is one of the first phase cities, which when the Smart City mission has started in India in 2016, and Pune proposed to be a leader into the smart cities, and carry out the different kinds of smart city initiatives defined by SCM, that is Smart City Mission of Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. So it usually happens that infrastructure development is always done by the administrators in ULBs, like urban local bodies like Gram Panchayat, like Nagar Parishad, the municipal corporation, and so on. So Pune Smart City has given for the infrastructure an area which is called area-based development, and in Pune it's called ABB area. ABB is Aun, Baner, and Balewadi. So if you consider the Aun, Baner, Balewadi area is the one which you can actually look at the colors. So Aun, Baner was the established area was there. Some part of Baner was yet to get into development, and Balewadi was like the half done. So three different kinds of uh, canvases we got as in Pune Smart City, and then we have developed such kind of different kinds of projects which are to be carried out in that particular area. So we had the so we had the placemaking projects which have carried out. We have some educational drives, e-learning schools, different kinds of methodologies, CCTV cameras, surveillance, automatic adaptive traffic management systems, and so on and so forth. About 18 to 19 projects which we have carried out in this particular area. With this, we as in Pune, not Pune Smart City, but as in Pune is now considered to be the second most livable city in India. And this year it is going to be number one. And as our commissioner sir, honorable commissioner sir has promised that we will make this one as number one, and we will be number one, clean, green, and livable. So these are the different kinds of parameters which how we find the the livable index. So we put a maximum score in India, and then now we will be first. Now these are the awards, about more than 25 awards which we have got for the projects. And I'm happy to share that we have in the energy, green building, and waste management we have got 5 stars, and in the climate smart city assessment framework of 2.0. It has been selected in the first champion cities for its EV readiness plan. So electric vehicle readiness plan, which has been presented by our mayor in the mayor challenge of champion city in Bloomberg Philanthropy. These are the 17 goals which are already accepted by all of the towns and cities in across the world. So no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, peace, justice, and strong restrictions.
Excuse me, sir. Sorry
Yeah,
for
yeah,
interrupt.
yeah.
So the slides are not moving, sir. We are still in the first slide.
Okay.
Yes,
Let
sir.
me just check. I'm sharing. Could you see now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's
Yes,
moving
sir.
now.
Yes, sir.
Now it's okay.
Okay,
No,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So these are the 17 goals. Should I flip through the earlier slides? Now it's okay. Has it changed?
No, sir. Actually, please start the slideshow.
I have already started the slideshow, and I think that is what is.
Yes, sir. It's moving now, sir. It's changed.
Okay. Okay. So I'm now slide sharing. Now it is okay. The champion city, I think you see.
Yes, sir. It's in Pune, India's champion city, 2021 global.
Right. Yeah. And these are the awards which I was talked about, and the ease of living thing. So it's fine. I mean, these are the things which are the one which you will be finding in newspapers also. The main part is these 17 goals. So these are the 17 sustainable development goals which Pune also following for, and this contains all the livable things. Basically, the one I was talking about, the poverty and zero hunger, health, education, gender equality, safety, clean climate, life below water, life on the land. So all of these, these are the sustainable development goals which are commonly accepted across the globe. So these are the goals which we are working on, and with all these things coming up, we have huge number of data, huge data is getting generated. Now, how the poverty is going to get the data generated? So we have these different kinds of slabs. So according to that, we are the supply of the food, the food supply chain. I mean, that is what it has been defined. Zero hunger. That means again whether the food, what is produced and what is reaching to it, those all these things come under zero hunger. So how we are going to achieve these kind of things? Unless and until is someone it is been said that if it is not measured, you cannot control it. So this is are the measuring points where we actually measure this according to the data available from the city. And how we get those data? The more major issues from the cities. I mean, when we are going to drive the city with the data, then see the major issues are like mobility, management of water, wastewater management, solid waste management, safety, security, energy, utilities, all those, housing, education, health. These are the main factors where these particular sustainable goals are going to play a role. And these are the factors which are most, monitored and most required thing for the citizens. So these are the, highly complex issues require integrated approach to solve. So what is the integrated approach? Then, like the departments, the government departments, the non-government organizations, NGOs are there, NPOs are there, private sector organizations now, CSR and all those things, funds are creating, and then they are helping it out in each other. Corporates, community organizations, research and academic institutions. So people like you are actually defining the stages. You are going to actually research on the particular one according to whatever the data is provided to you. And then,
Sir,
is it
excuse me, sir.
visible? Again, is it visible?
Yes, sir. Sorry to interrupt again, sir. We are having
Yeah.
the same trouble again. Sir, could you put it in slideshow mode, sir?
I've put it in slideshow mode. Let me just close it again and then put it again. Okay. I will stop sharing. Then I will start again. I will share my window. Then I will open it again. I am on slide number 7. Slide 8. Can you see now?
No, sir.
Okay. Share. Now it's okay?
No, sir. Not yet.
It will come.
Yeah.
Now it's okay, right?
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay.
But
great.
it's not in
Now,
slideshow view.
yeah, if I go to slideshow, I think it is not. We will spend another 20-30 seconds. I will put it into slideshow. So I've put it in slideshow. Now
Okay.
let's see whether the slides have been flipped or not. Is it okay if I have flipped the slide?
It's in data-driven cities.
Now, developing a data-driven culture. Is it okay?
No, sir. It is fine.
Data-driven
It is fine.
cities.
Data-driven cities.
It's showing data-driven cities. I don't know what is happening here. Yeah.
Sir, will you please share the entire screen, sir?
I will share the entire screen. That is what it is supposed to, I think. Now, is it possible for you to check it out? If they are there, the slides are there.
Yeah, same thing is showing, sir.
Now,
No, sir. Same thing.
sustainable.
Same.
Still not changing.
I think there is a problem. And now, can you see changing?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
When I'm not starting the slideshow?
Data-driven culture.
Developing a data-driven culture.
Right. So it is better that I will keep it like this.
Okay.
I will just zoom it, probably. More is okay.
Yes.
It is fine, sir. It is fine, sir.
Yeah. So now data-driven cities. So I have narrated on these cities. I mean this slide. So I just wanted to put it up into this particular one is like academic and research institutes, like the people you are the major part of, are going to play a very large role into it, because with all this data which is gathered, we are going to come up with different kinds of use cases, the solutions for it. So then it is definitely going to work for the betterment of the citizens. Again, I will mention this: when you measure the things, then only you can actually monitor or manage the things. So measurement is whatever the data which is going to get, you are going to research on it. The young students are going to young startups, the enthusiasts, the research scientists are going to work on it, and then coming up with the solutions in what? In infrastructure, in services, research. All this cooperation is definitely a good combination to have a better future in terms of how this data, because now data is considered to be an next gold. It is going to be something where we are going to bang on. We are going to bang on for the betterment of whatever the life which we are living right now. The data is used for the cities in order to solve the complex issues faced by city. You can see the major issues on the top of it: mobility, management of water. Now, how we are going to manage the water? We know we have the forecasting. I will just put up one use case. We have the dam water. We have forecast how much rain is going to be there. We have the population level, the increase of the population, and what kind of temperature which we are going to have in summer, how much storage which we have, how much capacity we can actually recycle the water, what is NRW, which is non-revenue water. So all these things, when we have this data, we can actually optimize the water supply. The way we do it in electricity, we do have these shutdowns most of the time in once a week or something. We just cut down the electricity and we manage the demands of it. This is energy supply. Education, apart from whatever the condition was in COVID pandemic, which is definitely unprecedented situation which we have faced across the world. I think apart from, manufacturing industries were down, apart from medical and other accessories which they were supposed to manufacture. However, most of the academic institutions were on. The research was on. The labs been occupied for getting the vaccine done, testings and X, Y, Z. So these kind of this kind of contribution in health is a remarkable way where the data sharing happened. The when we were controlling the pandemic, we were having the results. Every day there were positive patients, then the scarcity of oxygen, then scarcity of the ICU units. According to that, we have planned how much ICU units will require for the second wave, for the third wave. Look at it, how we have gradually, confidently handled the third wave. It was massive in terms of numbers, but it was very much confident from the health management, on the terms of health management. We were prepared. And then we have taken this one as a learning. And we are now establishing the temporary developments, what we have done, temporary arrangements, what we have done. And then we are getting self-sustained. Every city, every town, which is now more ready with oxygen, with the health facilities, the ICUs, the beds and all. We are more confident, isn't it? So this is what has helped us. The data has helped us to actually overcome the hurdles, and with all the cooperation from different stakeholders of the industry, of the city, it has been formalized in terms of in benefits of the citizens. So developing a data-driven culture. How we are going to develop a data-driven culture? So there are the 6 factors which actually defined in this by Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. So this is a framework. So the government as a platform, because almost all the data of the citizen is available at the government platform. How many people are there? What is the gender diversity? The age? How many children are there? How many youngsters are there? How many workforce? How much workforce is there? I was just talking other day on the terms of workforce. When we were discussing the future plans, how we are going to have, and work from home culture. So the statistics were amazing. India has 483 million people who can work, who are working rather, 483 million, and only 3% of it are working in IT, and other are either education or the manufacturing industry. Now imagine 3% if you remove, the 97% are supposed to go to school. The other one are supposed to go to the work and then have. However, in the terms of the digital evolution, we have started doing it. What we have started digitizing the schooling. We have started learning. E-learning started. There was a knowledge transfer in the terms of on the digital platform. So the data-driven public sector has created on the digital design, where the users are driving it, and it is proactive. So all this part automatically comes down to define a data-driven culture. And then this data, which is already gathered, it is not the property of government, it is a property of people. So it is open. So not, it's definitely the responsibility of the making the data open for all is on the government. So you cannot disclose my social security number. You cannot disclose my bank accounts, even though you have. Those are the restricted ones. However, there are some different kinds of data which can be made available, like my gender, like my age. So according to that, I can put it up into different silos, and then we can have a platform done, which can be a user driven. So this kind of data culture is getting developed in the city, and this is what going to be the future, where the governance is going to happen on this particular one. So according to the but this is a culture. Now, how we are going to have the different approaches. So the adoption of following when listed data-driven approaches down there for problem solving. So this is something which is tested in the smart city areas, where the culture of data, the culture. It's drawing it's a insight to the creating actionable intelligence for the city governance. So how we are going to use this data to create a action plan. So in this particular one, I can again take the use case of pandemic. We were gathering the data from where the infection is spreading. So the containment zones, the supply, the resources which are supposed to be deployed on that particular area are being mobilized. So this is how the use of data which we have done. The city data policy. Now again, it's a ownership of data from the city. So whatever the data it is available, which can be make it open. The privacy, the security of particular data, that one is also possible. It's a policy which was done. Then the City Data Alliance. Now, government and non-government, all the stakeholders, those which I have there, all of them are going to create data, and they hold a crucial data structure and crucial data for from the citizens. Those are sharing from the city, generated from the cities. So the production, probably the production of one kind of commodity can be in data, where the similar demand and supply can be matched. So according to that, we can actually have, if you share this data, like sorry, if we in the city we have a stock of 1 million ton of rice, and it has to be given. So we can actually plan in terms of how we can actually deploy this one, or maybe it can be exchanged with some other city to have the different kind of grain. So pehle in a long back, which used to follow the Bara Balutedar, that is what we call it earlier, which we had this. So similar kind of thing is happening, and then the data is playing a good role. We can actually have full supply chain monitor. So this is what the government and non-government organizations are both can handle, and we can create a data-driven solutions. Appropriate data platforms. So these are the ones which are going to be the ones who are going to interact with the citizens. People are going to have the feel of this particular data from this appropriate data platform. So open data platforms, then secure data, the intuitive data, then those are going to provide some information, the exchange platforms, the money monitoring platforms, the sharing, the shared data, which other people can share, or only particular departments can share. So such kind of appropriate data platforms has to be created, and we have done this one and then checked out in smart cities. Awareness around use of data. Now all these data is available. All are there is a open data, there is a sharing data, that is interoperability in the data formats. in the platforms which are available. These kind of data is being used by the community. Then the awareness, how the data can be used to create different kinds of use cases and approaches and solutions for the issues which we have facing in the city. Those are the ones which we have talked about. It's more mobility and water and utility and education and health. Those are the common issues, but it's not the simple. The life is not that simple that it is depend upon that particular issues. There are different kinds of issues where the addressing of those issues with the small use cases, the small solutions, the integrated solutions, the local solutions that can be applied. And this will be the 5 stages or 5 approaches where we can actually have the data driven cities. Now in Pune, we have done this, and it's not only Pune. I mean, in Surat also it's been done. It's not only Surat, but in Japan, in Europe, these cities are following such kind of issues, and the data is being used to make the living better and better each day. I will tell you about one of the use case. Let me check it out whether this it's in the slide, because in the last session I have done that, and I've discussed some use cases. But anyways, I couldn't find it. With the data portal, which we have actually published this kind of data, where we are gathering the environment sensors. Those environment sensors are located in the 50 locations of the city, across the city. Then we have flood sensors. So flood sensors have been always used for the predictive analysis and the recent and then the real-time data. So in the terms of floods, in the terms of rains, there are floods. So flash floods. Then if the rain persists for long, not because of rain, but the dams get full and then we discharge water. And because that discharge water, the floods are being experienced in the city. How we can actually, so again, I mean, if I use to open the floodgate straight away, then what will happen? The full Pune will be flooded. However, we know that this kind of rain is going to be there for next 5 days. So it is better that we start dissipating water earlier. So it will go and it will pass. We don't have to flood at the one go, and then there is a calamity happened in long back of Panshet Dharan, which Panshet Dam, which because of it has filled, it has been it broken, and then whole Pune was underwater. So something like this, such kind of open, such kind of data is going to help us to prevent the things. So these are the practices which we are, actively practicing in Pune. We adjust the screen. And these are the sustainability oriented solutions. So Pune aspires to create a model neighborhood of livability and sustainability, fully deploying all smart city features in the future ready manner. So it's like, in 2030, according to the growth which we have seen, that population is going to be 4 times whatever it is there. You need to have different kinds of areas which can be developed. So urban planning is most important. And who is going to plan those? You have the data. Academic there are n number of institutions are working with governments now. In Pune Smart City, we have at every time we have 5 to 6 interns are working in for the projects on the smart city. How the effective implementation and planning can be to have the progress done in the city. So they are taking care of everything, the nalas, the biodiversity, the original means like original tree growings. People are being aware of cycling. People are aware of non-motorized transport. People are now tending towards using the public transport. So according to whatever that we have thought that the administrator thought that we should have the metro. So Pune Metro is coming. So that will be a more mass rapid transport. There are buses which were working earlier, about 2,000 buses were there. Those are internal combustion engines. Now we have electric buses. So about 150 and 500 to more to come. So these kind of things are happening on the terms of sustainability. We are also saving the water. So water regulation will be there. Environment, how we are going to manage the waste. So that this is also it's going to be there. In the city which we are trying to get. Now, when the waste is managed, what about the traffic? So adaptive traffic management is going to be there. Then what about the education? So digital education systems, we have actually converted all the curriculum, the Maharashtra state curriculum as in digitized form. So anyone can download it and learn it at home. Hospital management systems, those hospitals which have been provided by the Pune Municipal Corporation are particularly being only in one platform where starting from the admission to the discharge, all of those are going to be monitored on the one platform. One application which has been developed as in telemedicine. So every Puneite can actually reach to the doctor online, the Pune Municipal, appended by the Pune Municipal Corporation at any given time with the mobile app. The patient can have online interaction with them. So these kind of things are happening, and then there will be a lot of data which will be created, and then it is a closed loop. See, when the data is generated, we are going to act upon it. We are going to create the good model, and then it is a feedback system. So it's a basic control system which is going to with closed loop control system. So it is going to correct itself also, and it will be working as a better things and to solve the complex and complex issues. Then these are the digital innovations which we are technology which is going to be integrated. Not only that, but then we are developing the roads to for the people who are going to use those ones. So again, when we are going to check it out, I mean, we are going to have multiple transport systems which are offered from the city, buses, metro, taxis, the long-term buses, long distance buses, auto rickshaws, even bikes are now being used for the transport. So these are going to have just create a need of creating a multimodal transit hub. So that is also what Pune Smart City is going to take care of. There are different kinds of parks which we have developed for this. Having said that, this is the livability. Unless and until we plan this for the 4x population which is going to be there by 2030, how we are going to do this? It will be a mess if we don't act right now. So we need to have, and then who is going to maintain this? Who is going to who is going to create this and who is going to maintain this? This is the future task force which you people are looking at actually. So it's the infrastructure, it's the convenience of travel, and availability of food. Only is it the only three things which are going to matter and then make our life easier? No, there are some other different things which are supposed to actually work on. And when we are going to have this data, we are going to create a needs. When we are going to create the needs, we need the solutions. When we need the solutions, we need the research to be done. And who is going to help you out better than you people? So create a task force who can actually think of solutions on the data available. Then now when we'll talk about urban governance, and the COVID-19 is unprecedented situation, what they say. It is a pandemic, has definitely brought a great transformation in urban governance. And you might have actually understood it. Okay, I mean, it is okay that it has happened somewhere someone has already lost the life of their dear ones, which we couldn't save. This is an unprecedented situation. Even the administrators are human beings. I can tell you about, just a moment. Hello. हाँ बोलते हैं. हाँ एक 5:30 वाजता फोन करा मला प्लीज. Sorry. Yeah. So when I can tell you about Pune Municipal Corporation, 18,000 staff. Everyone was at home, but all 18,000 staff was coming to the office, and we had about 940 teams. One team included 3 people. One is going to take the accessories, wear and all those things, doing the swab, taking down the numbers, taking down the name of the people. Then there was another guy who was going to carry all those things and blah, blah, blah. So these 940 teams were working 24/7 to get these things under control. Now imagine this is the kind of situation which has arisen, has put administration at the most of its efficiency and pressure. So it's not only the healthcare but supplies also. Now I have learned that cooperative working is the most thing we can. At some time, even myself, I was not being able to share much of the things into healthcare business, but at least I can carry someone. I can actually help someone to put the oxygen mask properly. So this is what the cooperation which has taught us. And refining the urban governance, the city management. Earlier, the way it was, we used to actually finger point towards a government official that these guys don't work at all. This when we have seen this, the pandemic, we are now thinking twice to raise a finger, right? I mean, I am doing that. So it's like, they have worked a lot in the terms of that. And then it was an unprecedented situation. However, the learning was very much effective into that. So the technology, the technology, the healthcare, the manufacturing, the transport, everything was now, being developed in such a way that day-to-day handling and operations are now into more automated way. The basic things of the pandemic forced firms and workforces to have the remotely available. So people were working from remote. You people were teaching the students the future workforce. So that has not stopped. The pandemic has not stopped us, because we had the determination, and now we have the different avenues to have the management done. And how we can go to reach to that, it is a different data which is available with us. The city management was put into an such a way, the crisis management. So our crisis management and crisis resilience, the resilience after the crisis has improved a lot. And then we come up with a good force, and then we have seen it in 2 years. With whatever the data was available, healthcare has been more profound now. We have more confidence on our healthcare systems. We are more confident on our supply systems. We are more confident on our water systems. So such kind of development has happened because of this. And then data is the one which is going to have a major chunk of it, basically, because these are the ones which are researched. Many research organizations, many institutions, like I would say all of Pune institutes were involved into basically the development of this particular one. And the professors who are closely working on artificial intelligence module, on the development of different kinds of applications, different kinds of mobile applications, different kind of reaching materials, the awareness procedures, those have been implemented into it for the city management. So having said that, all of this actually comprised into a good governance. The prime challenges of implementing policy related to this solution is lack of a culture of data, a lack of city data alliance, lack of appropriate data platforms, and awareness. So we need to develop on the particular one which I have shared with you. These are the points where we actually have the structure done. Approaches. So we need to have more profound data on these terms. The robust data policy has to be prepared. And who is going to prepare? Unless and until academicians and researchers like you are going to help us to do that one. We will definitely be depending upon you, because administration cannot analyze that particular data, and they cannot come up with a robust solution. Solution, definitely someone else definitely will come up, but the robust solutions, the processes were formulated in a way so that we collect the data in efficient manner. How we are going to improve those processes, the technology, how we can use this technology to get all the primary data, how we can actually have the put up the different kinds of sensors, different kind of possible effective ways to get the data from the community. How we are going to do the capacity building out of it. After getting all this data, how we can actually formulate this data, how we can sanitize this data, how we can do this analytical tools, how can we apply all these analytical tools on that one. Then what about the different kinds of cultural data and alliances of it, the interoperability, how we are going to have the jigsaw puzzle done on that particular one, how we are going to have these data, create that a data alliance can be created. What about the resource building? How we are going to do this? How we are going to handle the complexity of the data? The right resources to be deployed to particular data. So all the data approaches are to be strengthened. And who is going to do that one? Definitely the new workforce. In order to innovate the open innovation which we have to put up. So in this term, I'm happy that in Azadi Ka Amrut Mahotsav, which is our 75 years of independence, what we are celebrating of this year. So Pune also carried many hackathons, and Pune Smart City has launched an Ideathon in different kinds of approaches, in different kinds of the issues like freedom from traffic, freedom from safety, freedom from water scarcity. So such kind of different 8 issues which we have already launched. Obviously, it is only for the Pune area, because it is as I always say that the city has its own soul, and only the citizens are going to know about what they want, what is the livability of this. But in Prayagraj, in Surat, in Mumbai, in Nagpur, in Bangalore, in Calcutta, in Delhi, there will be a different kinds of the basic whatever we have issues which we have noted down in the on the third slide about mobility, water, and all, are the ones who are going to be there for all the cities. However, the small issues, according to whatever the data is collected from the city, are going to be the local ones, and we need the resources to solve those particular issues, the local issues, the local city issues, to go to the future. And so resource at every city has to be built for each and every case. I would not say that one. These are the ones on the terms of what we are doing it in. I have told you about the digital education system, the flood sensors, the health management system, then adaptive traffic management. These are the projects which we are right now covering. Now, the major part which I wanted to talk about in the terms of government domain, and you people are the best one to address this. The one I have told you about, the local, and the major issues which we are going to have is natural language processing, the NLP. Designing successful human-centered smart cities needs a natural language processing for the digital transformation. And this is the major playing a role into NLP is going to play a role. Most of you engineers are aware of this particular one. Align local population to their development objectives. Using a top-down intervention, we can actually strategically identify the functional urban areas. Categorize the top-down communication in this like smart economy, people, governance, mobility, environment, living. And then smart city leaders can draw upon and promising findings extracted from leading smart cities to successfully manage smart city life cycles through and address the smart city threads using natural language processing. So I think most of these you people are working on. It's not depend upon the faculty or stream which you are studying, which you are teaching, but all the digitization is happening in each and every phase where NLP is going to create a role. The intelligent chatbots which can actually have the user-friendly interaction between machine and human, meme by making computer understand human language. This is what we have to work on. How we are going to create AI models, how we are going to create AR algorithms, how we are going to create machine learning models. So this is what going to help us in the terms of having the NLP enabled AI, and began to shift from e-commerce to city planning, asset management, smart parking, how we are going to have the effective parking solutions can be implemented into it. Work management, I mean, sometimes, I will just tell you about one example which we always face in any city, in any town, in India. Like whenever we start for the office, we see that there is a pothole in front of, another few meters away from your home on the road, and you keep on watching it, and you keep on searching it. I mean, I keep on searching it. I looking at it. I keep on craving on it, and I always keep on blaming someone. Instead of that, if you have an application which can directly take that particular photo to the particular person who is actual in charge of that, it will be arrested because it is his work. However, he is not passing from that road every day, so he doesn't know unless and until someone complains. When we complain? We complain when something happens, like I fall down. Then only I will complain. Arey, usme to khadda tha. Probably most of the time we avoid it and go. We don't complain unless and until we arrive for then a critical situation. So proactive approach. We are being forced to. I always say that we have been resilient by force. Now we have the choice. We have learned a lot. We supposed to be now resilient by choice. We should be creating such a good environment that the loop is connected. The loop is controlled. It is a closed loop control system. Has to be there. There should be a feedback. The feedback is not there. What we do is we go, we don't do it a proper way. So the ecosystem has to be, formulated, and then this is what it is going to happen. And then even the efficiency, automatically the efficiency will increase. We can have the public-private partnerships. We can create those kind of a bond. It's not only the one, like these are the facts which been mentioned here. However, the most important these days is shift focus from service delivery to increase ownership, demonstrated by the ownership demonstrated. So the ownership has to be there from the people of stakeholders. So PPP is going to be a good model into it. So most of this is experiencing in the PPP. Again, I mean, I think I have overshoot the time. We can have question answers later on, but this is the last slide. You can go through. These are the success across the globe. I have told you about that. It's not only Pune or Surat. In Japan, in Korea, in Sweden, there are a lot of initiatives that are happening. In Korea, in Spain, I'm closely related to Spanish startup hub, and Dubai Smart City. I'm one of the mentors for Dubai Smart City. So the startups are receiving government support now. They are giving the platform. We have a lot of different kinds of initiatives and help from the government to create such kind of environment for flourishing the startups, to come up with new ideas. Those ideas in terms of citizen centric, then it will be more into more. It will be adopted directly from the government. So these kind of supports are happening from the DOTA, from the local administrations also. you can actually collaborate. We have these uh, the TULIP program. You might be aware of the urban learning internship program. So in this, many urban local bodies, the government sectors have already been registered. I will encourage you people to reach out to your students to enroll in AICT platform where they can apply for the internship. At least they should know where they are going to land. When I was young, I have studied engineering in early 90s. That time, I was being introduced to motor and starter from the distance of 10 feet, because that was the only one starter and then only one motor which used to be available in the lab, and the lab technician or lab assistant used to show us how it is started, and whatever we used to learn and whatever we used to see, we used to write in the paper. However, now the things are available. The augmented reality, the virtual reality things are there. You can actually have this. However, and those ones can actually seen at the home, but feel feel of that particular one on the site is most important. So the future task force is to be applied for extensive trainings, like, and apart from the knowledge. So the government agencies also are adapting for this kind of initiatives, and uh, 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 again, uh, they are also helping them to create the infrastructure of startups and new ideas. And then this is what the future is. We need to come up with uh, different kinds of uh, ideas and then implement those. So one of that I have told you about Ideathon, which has been the paper, the entries been called from all over the Pune institutes, academic institutes. Many students are participating in the groups, and then they are creating ideas and then putting up shows. So soon, by end of March, we will be having 75 ideas will be shortlisted, and Pune Smart City will try to have the POCs done for all 75. So let's see how it works out to be. And another one which I wanted to share you about, I will share the link with Sir Mishra Sir, and then he will share it with you. This is particularly on the standards for urban data and governance. So as I was closely working with IEEE standards, I have been inducted into BIS also. So it's a Indian standards. So BIS also come out with the standards for management governance, and I will share that. The first draft, the draft is out, not first draft. The draft is out for the adopting of this, and according to the procedure, we have to give it for the give for the people to comment on it, and then and who are the best to comment, you people. So I will share the link with Sir. You are all welcome to comment on it and then give your insights. With that, I will thank you for listening to me. Hope you have got some bit of idea about urban governance and Pune Smart City, and the data-driven cities which we are going to have in future. And you have liked it. Thank you very much.
Sir, we are thanking you and requesting all participants to come forward and interact with sir. Now this is open session for all, sir. So anyone can come forward and interact with sir. Please. Anyone has any query, please come forward. Come forward. Sir, participants are basically professors. So,
I know. Probably I will share the presentation with you, sir. You can actually circulate if
Yes.
anyone, and then I'm going to share the link for the standards which we have already developed at BIS, and I will request all the professors to comment on it, who are, I mean, related standards which we are going to adopt from like for the governance, I mean municipal governance. So it will be adopted for the cities, adopted by the cities, city administration, and that will be the standards which are going to be followed. So again, I mean, it is something like, it is a future data-driven cities which are going to play a bigger role. I mean, standards are going to play a bigger role in data-driven cities. So let's have the comments and experts, and then we can actually have this. I think there is a question which has popped up. Okay, yeah. Sir, in which zone or area is difficult in technology-wise to convert smart city? Any specifics? Sir, the basic issues which we have discussed about is the mobility, the water scarcity, the electricity, the utility, then health. So these are the areas which are very specific in all part of the city, in all part of the world, and there will be some local issues which we can actually address. So according to whatever the data is available, we can actually create the solutions in the local community itself, on the urban local bodies itself. So the way Pune Smart City is working, that we have created, I mean, we have driving a ideathon for Pune people only. Then we have given some issues like 8 different kinds of subjects where they can actually come up with some solution. The innovators, the researchers, the students, the startups can come up with their solutions, how they can actually implement this. So issues might be the one which I have explained, that there is a pothole and then you always see it. So I will create an app which can directly land up this particular case to the concerned person, the ward officer probably. Now, I'm just giving you an example. So such kind of issues can be handled. But the major ones which we have rather discussed is mobility, health, water, electricity, education. Hope I'm okay. Right. Thank you. Data collection is indeed a huge process. And I'm happy to tell you about Pune Smart City. Pune Smart City is contributing about 850 data sets which are available for open to public. You can use these ones. These are under Data Kaveri, called Indian Urban Data Exchange Program, and you, with your email ID, you have to just register. It is free of charge. You have to just, we are just monitoring it, that who is downloading it and not using it for any other purpose. That's why. However, that data is available. You can go to that IUDX site. You can use the real-time data sets which we have shared, and you can create your own models, create your own machine learning algorithms, and create one use case, and create your own product. So you are most welcome to use IUDX.
Sir, I think there is no any further query.
Right, sir.
So sir, with your due permission, we conclude the session and we are closing the session, sir.
Thank you, sir.
But thanking you is very small thing to say for your contribution and your support. So really, we are very grateful to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Always very grateful to you.
Thank you very much, sir. You are so modest. आपके तरफ से ही हमने ये इंस्पिरेशन लिया है. So प्लीज अगर आपको अच्छा लगे तो सब लोगों ने कुछ ऑल नॉलेज ट्रांसफर और इंटरैक्टिव सेशंस के लिए आई विल बी हैप्पी. थैंक यू वेरी मच. थैंक यू.
Thank you, sir.